It's The Perfect Union, the perfect podcast for the perfect country, brought to you by your perfect host, Hank Thompson, for you, the perfect listener. Hello, everybody. Perfect Union is the politics wing of Winners and Losers Enterprises and Apocalypse training courses. Don't forget to sign up for upcoming class, Time Management. Hello, everybody. It's me, Hank. We're doing it. Here we're back on the show. August 21st. Second half of the year is well underway. There are fires all over California. There are hurricanes threatening the Gulf Coast. Fascism emanating from the centers of power, from the Capitol building on down through all the other Capitol buildings, and through the haunted forests and enchanted wastelands of the internet, where Looney Tunes, violent, right-wing populism is surging into our lives, and hopefully we can stop it. So this episode, I'm hoping to keep it quick. I got a lot to do. I'm in the middle of building my dad a birthday gift. Aw, isn't that sweet? Of course, like all my woodworking projects, they usually take a lot longer, particularly since I film them. And actually, I'm making him a hammer. That's a picture on screen. You can see that's like midway through. I got to do a lot of shaping, and this is I'm making two of them, one for myself and one for him. So a dad and son will have matching hammers. Isn't that cute? We're both big fans of Thor. My dad and I are both presidents of our state chapters of the Jason Kierkegaard. What the fuck is that guy's name? The guy who plays Thor. What a hunk. But anyway, yeah. So if you're looking on screen, one of the handles is a little bit more further along, and today I'm going to be shaping it using a really cool Japanese tool that I just got, and I'm fucking excited to try it out. I can't wait. I just love this woodworking shit. God, if I can ever look at another fucking computer screen for the rest of my life, I would be happy. I wish I was born somewhere in like the 1800s and I just could have lived in a temperate climate and just be like one of those woodworker guys who dies of dysentery in his 50s or something like that. Wouldn't that have been fucking a great life? Everybody's got nice butts because you all got to walk everywhere. Anyway, yeah, I've been real busy today and I'm trying to get this done. His birthday is in 9 days, less than that, 8 days. And I'm not even, I'm getting closer, but I still got to finish shaping. I still got to finish, they got to do the staining, and I'm not sure I'm going to, it's not staining, it's boiled linseed oil. I guess that is staining, but it's not a stain. It's an oil, seeps in. Okay, okay, that's it. I'm starting a woodworking podcast. Okay. As if I need more shit to do. Although, who knows? Maybe there's one of those in the future. All right, before we get to the stories too, or mostly I'm just going to go over the Democratic National Convention. I paid somewhat close attention, as distracted as we all are these days with our multiple screens going all the time. But I watched a good bit of it, probably 60%-ish. Missed some of them. It's more than 60%. But so I'm just going to share some thoughts, and I took some notes throughout the week. We're going to just go through the notes. So great. I bet you're excited. You're about to listen to a guy read political notes. I might want to talk about them. And a few videos. I didn't go and dig out every goddamn little speech and be like, oh, can you believe this is what Gretchen Whitmer is trying to say? So before that, though, just want to update you guys on hair. I have been, as you know, you've been listening to the show during 2020. I've been expressing my solidarity with all you hairs by growing out all the hair on my head and everywhere else on my body. Gets long. Boy, when your pubes are as long as your wiener, man, it's like Jesus. When it's sleeping wiener. And so that should be the title of the episode. So you've been following, I've been, as my hair gets longer, I've been realizing how much of a burden hair is. But I felt like it's worth the sacrifice. It's been a lot of sleepy, sweaty nights, annoying tickling. Fucking hair, man. And then it falls out, meaning like you sort of just shed. People just shed a little bit. People with long hair and multiple people with long hair, your houses and apartments just must be like a weird squirrel is just spreading all your hair around. Like some bird is trying to mate by collecting giant long strings and leaving them everywhere. All I do is pick up fucking hair. Anyway, so as you can tell, I'm not a fan. I was devastated throughout my life at the loss of my hair, which started when I was a teen. 19. That still counts. And it's been a thing, and I think it's funny. It's really funny. I would like to see what I'd look like with a nice, beautiful, finger-inviting hairline. And, but I'm lucky in a few ways. Beautiful skull. I have a fucking science classroom skull. The phrenologists would worship my skull. It's beautifully shaped. It's symmetrical, and really fun to touch. Really fun to rub. It's one of my God. This has nothing to do with it. Okay, I've dated. I've been on dates, and some dates go well. Sometimes you just drop her off at her house, and you go, "Oh, I didn't mean to vomit at Red Lobster. Sorry. Oh, ooh, didn't know you were such a Rand Paul fan. Get the fuck out of here." No. But some go well, some don't. But when they go well, there's usually some amorous interactions, right? Hands, fingertips, elbows, lips. The monster that lives in your mouth, in your cave. I love that the tongue is this giant flicking around monster. I've said this before, but we do not give the tongue enough credit for all the jobs that we ask of it. It does a lot of stuff. It is the all-purpose muscle for so many things. Anyway, I was having a date. This is really not that sad. Why do I get all cagey about... we were making out in my Subaru. And I sense her reaching for my head. The hands start getting a little... I'm going to grab your head now. You start getting a little more grabby. And I sensed her hesitate as her arm was moving towards my head. And I stopped and I go, "Am I your first bald guy?" And she goes, "Yeah." I go, "You never touched a bald head?" She goes, No. She was weird. She was a little weirded out by the bald head. And that's totally okay. I didn't mind. It was sort of adorable. And I go, "Go ahead. Give it a touch. Hit it. You can smack it. Touch it." So I just leaned over, and she just kind of like rubbed my head for a little while. And that led to 17 years of marriage. And she died in a fire. All right, guys. So let's get to the stories. The hair. Here's the point of all this. I finally had enough. We've had this heat wave in California hitting us. It's been like upper 90s or something. Honestly, although I think I'm close enough to the ocean that I'm catching a good bit of that cooling effect of that. So it's a lot worse in other parts of the state. But it's still been really hot. I've been out in my balcony doing woodworking and sweating my ass off, dripping straight onto my glasses as I'm leaning over some piece of walnut. And I just couldn't take it anymore. Enough with it. So I finally got out my buzzer and cut it all off, trimmed up my beard, and boy, it was a funny thing, like 2-3 inches long strands all over my shower. I shave it in the shower, and then you scoop it off the ground. You don't just do it on carpet or above the toilet, which sometimes works in a pinch. And so going back to being fully headed bald with a buzz cutter. I've never actually taken a razor to it, but I go as close as I can get. And I saw myself in the mirror as a bald guy without the psychopathic library masturbator hair that I've been sporting for the last 6 months. And I had a little emotional experience. It wasn't like a crying or it was like a sad or anything. It was just kind of surprised me with how much I kind of reacted to seeing myself bald again. I looked like, and with a bigger beard, kind of a bushier beard. And I really did look like like a prisoner. I mean, like a gangster guy in a prison or something, just like a tough guy, except for the flappy, gross body I've got. And, I don't have a prisoner demeanor, I don't think. And God bless him. But, or like a Sons of Anarchy background guy. That could have been me. So, but I was like, oh God, that's my head. That's me bald. It was just a strange moment. I don't even know what to think about those feelings I had. But it did make me think about how much of our identities we wrap into our hair and why the hair industry needs to be crushed. It's a scam. No, but people spend shit tons of money on their hair. Women particularly spend fucking the first time some woman told me how much she spent on her hair. It was just some rando on the street. She ran up to me. She said, no. But you're around women. They talk about, you learn this and they go, oh, yeah, it's like $300. I was like, what? That's a fucking PlayStation. $300. You spend $200 or $300, $400 for colors and foil. It's insane. And haircuts, God, I sound like such an old man. Men, I mean, you can obviously go spend a lot of money on your hair too, but just regular old haircuts are like, what, 50, 60 bucks, 40, 30 bucks? Back in my day, I'd go spend $10 at the Haircut Academy. Actually, I had a crush on this girl, and I went to, she was in hair school or whatever they call that, barber college, or as I like to think of it as Skull University. And I went to get a haircut from her, which is weirdly, like, it wasn't stalking her in a way. She and I had a flirty thing that never led to anything. This was like in my late teens or I don't know, whatever the fuck, decades ago. And got a haircut from her. It was cheaper. I could tell she was still pretty new, and it was a shitty haircut. She died in a fire. No, did not. Anyway, God, it's weird how memories work, huh? So, glad to be bald again. Glad to have my old head back, and I am loving it. It is such a blessing. God, it's so... I can... Okay, drying your hair. I had my hair long. It was like 3 inches. Now, oh yeah, and it was like as it was getting longer, it was just becoming strandy. I mean, I could comb it backwards into these big wings like Bozo the Clown, and it would sort of stick out because the hairs themselves are really thin, so they don't they're gravity defying, you know. And it was fun to kind of comb the hair. Yes, you're listening to a guy ramble about combing his hair, and but if I just would like kind of let it fall down, it would just it would just kind of grow straight down like some kind of doll head, and just looking real weird, real grimy, like, you know, just kind of serial killer-ish. Although I do tend to wear hats, and I like it how the hair would curl around the hat edge and kind of back over the ears. That's kind of a decent look, I think. Back in my old days when I was a younger boy. So, oh yeah, drying. But it takes forever to dry. Like, is this shit? I always thought that absorbent hair meant that it would like soak up water between the hairs, like with a fork, or like a bendy fork, like a plastic fork. You can kind of like control liquid. By the way, it's a great way to apply oil droplets if you're in a pinch for something. I've had to do that for PC parts. No, I guess the hairs themselves are absorbing this fucking water because it takes forever to dry out. And I've got shitty thin, half of it's missing. And it's still, I'm like, what the fuck? This is just like, it's wet. And then I would take the towel, and that does a little bit. And I comb it to try to like open up the pores or you know, create space. And it just takes a long time. So for those of you that have giant heads of thick, long hair, boy, you've earned my respect and my sympathy. So I it's been an educational process, and I hope you've learned something too. Good. Jesus, what a nut. Okay, quick follow up. Some stories here, I guess, but quick follow up. Last episode, I did say I was going to talk about Texas City, the disaster in America that was worse than the Beirut explosion by quite a lot. I didn't get a chance to produce that. This woodworking thing is eating up all my time. And but I'm going to. I'm getting better about notes and production, and this workflow for this podcast is starting to coalesce into something that, because I need to do this, you know, repeatedly and stuff, and find ways to be more efficient and whatnot. So we're gonna get to that someday. But I did say something about Biden making money off of being famous and stuff. So I found this article about in Forbes magazine, which I only read for the articles. It's called "Here's How Much 2020 Presidential Candidate Joe Biden is Worth." And I think this is, August 28th, 2019. So there's a bunch of stuff. There's more detail to this than I was expecting. I was just kind of looking for one of those net worth things on the internet that are like, Chrissy Teigen is worth $14 trillion. So they're never right. Who knows? Adjust my mic here for a sec. And so, okay, here's to the first paragraph. I got more than I wanted to read, but they're all kind of interesting and inform some of what we're all facing in this as the world slowly turns into a cannibalistic nightmare. Starting out, when Joe Biden was a student at the University of Delaware in the early 1960s, he spent a lot of time chatting with friends in his dorm. One day he asked a question. You guys could be guaranteed upon graduation a job at the DuPont company with a nice starting salary and a job for life, but you would never make more. I'm just going to do my voice. You could never make more than $40,000 a year, which is $340,000 today. That's crazy. Or you could take a job at half the salary, no guarantees, but there would be no limit to the money you could make. Which would you take? All right, before we get to his dorm friend's answer, I don't even know if that's in the next paragraph, but think about that. If you're a creature of privilege when you're presenting your friends, hey, would you rather make $340,000 forever? Or would you rather make $170,000, but starting out, but then you can make as much as you want? Like, the bad option is $340,000. I would kill my fucking parents if I could make that much money. No, I wouldn't do that. God's doing that for me. Boy, they're getting older, man. It sucks. Ugh. And so the other option is to be, or would you rather take this poverty-stricken amount of $170,000, which would be $20,000 in 1960s money? It's just like, what? Well, we know for Biden, the answer was clear. This is second paragraph. He told his buddies he would rather take the chance. More than 50 years after those dorm lounge conversations, Biden is finally seeing the benefits of limitless earning. Today, Forbes estimates Biden, 76, and his wife Jill are worth $9 million. Their fortune includes 2 Delaware homes valued at $4 million combined cash. Valued at $4 million combined, cash and investments worth another $4 million or so, and a federal pension worth more than $1 million. Good for them. Biden's father, Joe Sr., was raised in a life of privilege, complete with polo matches and hunting trips in the Adirondacks. Thanks to the lucrative career of his own father, Joseph, who ran... Wait, what? This is written weird. This is Joe Sr.'s father, Joseph. So Joe Biden is the third, right? And his middle name is Robinette. Mixed feelings about that. Mostly I like it, though. It's okay. Okay. Okay, I got to start this. Okay. Thanks to the lucrative career of his own father, Joseph, who ran a division of American Oil. His grandfather ran a part of a giant oil company. But Biden's dad failed in his own early business ventures, which included a Boston real estate deal and a crop dusting effort. How do you fail at crop dusting? You fly around and you poison bugs. And then someone pays you, leaving the family, quote unquote, broke. That's how rich people struggle. They get, quote unquote, broke. According to Joe Biden's 2007 memoir, Promises to Keep on Life and Where Am I? I live. They can't kick me out of this Dairy Queen. The family relocated. That's the full title of his book, by the way. The family relocated to an apartment in Wilmington, Delaware when Joe Biden was 10. His father eventually found work selling cars. Okay, so he struggled. He took a hit. It doesn't sound like these guys are great at saving, but selling cars. The future vice president still managed to attend a private high school nearby, completing a work-study program to help cover the $300 per year tuition. So that would have been, I don't know the upgrade, but a couple thousand or something. If I'm trying to base it off the 40 grand equals 340. I don't know. I mean, I know you could do the math, but whatever. Later, Biden got a bachelor's degree from the University of Delaware, followed by a law degree from Syracuse University. After his first year of law school, he got married, and after graduation in 1968, he moved back to Wilmington with his wife, Nelia. Must be related to Star Trek Voyager's Neelix, my favorite character of all time. The couple quickly pulled together the funds to buy 3 rental properties in the area with some help from both sets of parents. Biden took a job as an attorney at a local firm. Hardship. Guys, they had to borrow money from their parents to become landlords. Have you ever struggled that much? You fucking lazy bitch. Huh? Take some money from your parents and become a landlord. Like a real man. Biden took it. Okay, yeah, I already read that part. So good to know. Even so, the Biden's personal finance. I think I skipped a bit here. Actually, because I didn't want to do the whole goddamn article. There's only 2 more paragraphs I'm going to read. So I guess he hit some struggle. There was his savings account was down. I don't know, but he's still a senator making massive amounts. I mean, I think today I know Congress people make 174,000, and I think senators, I don't know honestly, but so whatever it is for Senate pay, it's got to be at least what the House is making. It's 174 grand, and it goes up over time because they're all scumbags, and it's not like Biden's struggle meant he was driving Postmates or something. Like the guy was a United States senator being bribed constantly. Oh, sorry. Taking lobbyists, taking donations for his political career from giant credit card companies. So the notion that, this guy had a struggle. Maybe by Washington, D.C. standards, he had a couple of downticks. But all right. So they did have a period of a little not so great. Even so, Biden's personal finances were not in great shape. That same disclosure also listed liabilities worth at least $780,000 since that's the end of the sentence there. Since 1998, when Biden built his home in Wilmington, he has frequently refinanced the property over the years. Before Biden's son Beau died of brain cancer in 2015, the vice president said he worried his son would have to resign from his job as Delaware's attorney general while he was sick, and he considered selling his Wilmington house to help out his son. That's for medical bills. There's a story to this. I don't know it. It would warrant some further inquiry. But I remember reading about this a little. That I don't know. Let me just finish this, then I'll start rambling. President Barack Obama discouraged him from selling the place, stepping in to say he would personally lend him the money if he needed it. I want to know more about that. Did he actually lend him the money? And these are the two motherfuckers that were putting in Mitt Romney care on us, imposing it on America. And even the vice president, whose son was dying from brain cancer, was overwhelmed by the bills that they couldn't afford. I mean, he didn't have Nancy Pelosi money or Mitch McConnell money, but the president, I want to know. I don't know, because this has been I've seen this story in the context of like Biden talking about how he was lying during the campaign about how the ACA helped out Beau. He was basically, I find it really odious how he converted his dead son into a political prop, and they really. I'm sure I'm going to touch on that again later. I don't think you should hide your dead son. You shouldn't act like it didn't happen or never mention it, and it is a worthwhile thing to bring up, I think, but. They really do. I don't know. Is this gilding? What's the word I'm looking for? Gilding oh God, gilding the lily. I don't think that's the right phrase though. There's some other phrase. Make a mountain out of a molehill. Is that it? But they've made the best of it. Let's say they've really a return on. Investment wouldn't really be the right word, but I don't know. Look, if I die and my parents or someone who cared about me wanted to advocate for changes based on how I died or some sort of thing, that's great. Publicize my death, but just to use it to advance your political career and to maintain a corporate supremacy over a tortured and terrified and exhausted population of people that have been fed upon by capitalist and racist hyenas throughout their entire lives, that's just disgusting. They put his fucking coffin flag in the back of every basement shot. But, okay, you should honor your kid. Put the flag or somewhere. I mean, it's an honorific. Okay, it's my most important. I mean, of course he has feet. Okay, all right. I've never had a dead kid. I've never had a living kid. So who the hell am I to weigh in on it? But he's weaponizing his son's death for political gain so that Monsanto can have a few little extra points on their quarterly profit earnings. That's fucking gross. Final paragraph. When Biden ended his term as vice president in January 2017, he filed another financial disclosure form listing assets and liabilities worth somewhere between negative $897,000 and positive $489,000. What do you mean somewhere? Why don't we know? Isn't that the whole point of accounting? To have an accurate answer? But when you're rich, when you have people professionals paid to fudge it all, let's bury this, but let's not bury it. Let's just make it so that no one actually knows. But over the next 23 months, here's where it gets good. This is what I was referring to last week. But over the next 23 months, the Bidens earned more than $15 million, according to tax filings. Joe Biden got $1.8 million from book tour events and $2.4 million in speaking fees. Oh, it's good. Oh, that's a good rate. $200,000 for an hour, something like that. According to his most recent financial disclosure, that's the end of that sentence. He also earned $775,000 from the University of Pennsylvania to lead the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement as the Benjamin Franklin Presidential Professor of Practice. Oh, yes, thanks. Thank you. Yes, good. Jill added $700,000 in speaking fees. So she made a lot of money. His wife, who wasn't the vice president, she was able to convert their fame as being politicians. Like, I think if you become a politician of a certain level of repute, you should have like 90% taxes on everything above $300,000 or something. Especially if it's from like public fame sort of work. Like if you go out and you, I don't know, whatever. It's like they're making money off their positions. This is bribery. We don't call it bribery. It's not a bag of cash. It's not the old bribery way. It's not the 1940s Warner Brothers industrial film version of what bribery is in the political system. We want to root out people carrying bags of money with a dollar sign on the side of it. It's this. You just get to participate in the churn. You get to take a little bit for yourself. And by a little bit, I mean $15 million. Oh yeah, well sure, we'll give you $200,000 for showing up so we can sell tickets to this event. Because we have a big name here and it raises our prestige. It's gross. Oh, sure. Yeah. We'll give you $750,000 so that we can give you some sort of bullshit title and you can show up and give a couple of fucking talks to some students who are eagerly trying to become as corrupt as you are. No problem. Oh, yeah. Lobbying? Oh, yeah, sure. Come on in. Well, you've got connections? We'll pay you for that. You got a big name? We'll pay you for that. And guess what? We'll pay your kids. We'll pay your wife. And y'all got to cash out. I know the government checks are pretty low. Those measly $174,000 annual payments or whatever the Congress people, the senator, the vice president. Don't worry. Wink, wink. Help buy us a bunch of F-35s. Make sure that Qatar can buy some weapons. Sell some fucking bombs and some missile tracking systems to Saudi Arabia. Our friends over there, they have a lot of connections with our lobbying industry. And guess what? Your kid's gonna get a bonus. So anyway, Bidens have made plenty of money off being fucking famous, and it's gross. All right, good follow-up. Next story. What is this? I don't even know. Oh, okay. So we're talking DNC. What frustrated me watching the DNC, and first of all, let me say, start with the compliment. When you give notes, you should start with it. A complimentary introduction, and then you get to the part where you offer some constructive criticism. I'm not going to be constructive, though. It was better than it could have been. They really, this is a new format. No, they've never done Zoom-based DNC, this kind of convention. The Democrats had to go before the Republicans, which means the Republicans will have some advantage. Like when you're, playing darts. There's just, or in sports, sometimes it's better for your opponent to go first. Golf. If both your balls are right next to each other on the green, and you watch or in the same vector towards the hole, if you get to watch the other guy go because they're further back than you are, it's the honor system. You get to learn the green a little more because you watched how their ball handles the curves of the green, and then it's your turn, and now you have an advantage. That's okay. That's part of golf. But the RNC will benefit from watching the Democrats do it. And, of course, next week's RNC, the Republican, it's just going to be a fucking clown show. It's going to be a horrifying parade of every evil. I'm predicting there'll be guns. I don't mean, well, actually, I bet someone will shoot a gun. I bet that'll happen once, like in their backyard into like a can or something, like probably a picture of Obama. But I do think we'll see guns on the walls behind folks, and probably, I bet at least once, probably twice, someone will hold up a gun. There'll be like a pistol, like you just raise it up, like I do on a date. So the next week is going to be a fucking clown show, and it's unbelievable that the Republicans have anywhere near the amount of control and influence over society that they have. It's insane. And it's all because it's institutionally biased towards conservatism. which is why the planet's going to die, because the American conservative movement is the most extreme in the world, and they are also the most influential because it's America, because we have enormous influence over the rest of the world. Okay, there's a lot. Okay. So anyway, the Democrats had to sort of do this for the first time, and it was okay. Like, the technology seemed to work okay. There was the occasional awkward glance. There was one bit they tried to do these things where everybody's clapping, and some of the people were obviously not clapping or they didn't get the prompt or whatever. They could have pre-taped that one. Like, just videotape people. Just have people send in their clapping videos and then edit it. What the fuck? So it wasn't perfect or anything, but I think overall the format and presentation worked better than I would have predicted. Even the speeches to no rooms, which is weird. The part that's really goofy was where, like, Kamala Harris, the ones like the big hitters, Kamala Harris, Biden, Bloomberg. I don't think he didn't do what I'm about to describe. We got a Bloomberg video we're going to go over, by the way. Flies around his face. It was so funny. I loved it. Couldn't get enough of that fly. I hope that fly becomes president. But the waving, they would do the thing where they would have people clapping on the big screen inside some big produced room, and then they would walk around and smile and wave to the screen of the clappers, but they're really trying to emulate what they do when there's a audience, which is stand on stage and wave to the crowd, and that's weird enough, but doing it to an empty room, it's so apocalyptic, it's so dystopian. Apocalyptic's not the right word, but it's very, like, just messed up world, Black Mirror, dystopian, strange, as well as like this whole pandemic thing, with the baseball, with sports stadiums. But in baseball, I hadn't really even, I'd heard it, but I hadn't seen it until recently, that they're putting like cardboard cutouts in the dugout, and a teddy bear guy. And in one place, I guess they put a teddy bears, like big, huge, like 6-foot teddy bears in the seats, and one of them took a line drive right to the head. It was pretty entertaining. The announcers were cracking up. It was funny. How could you not? But it's so weird to have like people cutouts sitting in the seats. That's better than empty seats. Okay, it's funny to me. It actually kind of speaks to the way humans need to see people. Like, if you're watching a game on TV and the seats are all empty, you're just thinking like, why not just like, there's no one there. It's just what's happening. But if there's people / cardboard or cutouts of people, your brain, a little part of your brain is just like, there's people. That's a group. I am participating. It's like you need to. I really think there's something to. I'd love to see more science about this, and there's probably already plenty of science about it. I haven't looked into it, but that vicarious thing that happens when you watch something, because you need to see other people reacting in order for you to participate in their energy. And that's what sports is. That's what all kind of entertainment is, especially these big crowd group things. People are such fucking intuitively social animals. It's amazing to me. So technologically, they did fine. It worked out okay. Tonally and like substance-wise, it was nowhere near what I would like. It was nowhere near the socialist revolution that I am hoping for and agitating for. It was a lot of Republican appeasement. John Kasich, not Whitmer, Christine Todd Whitman, I think, was on. A bunch of other like Republican names were highlighted. Pete Buttigieg, he's not a Republican, but he's a, Democratic party. His presidential run was remarkably successful. He really found that Chutes and Ladders shortcut to the higher levels of the Democratic influence sphere. So he got time. I didn't actually see what he spoke about, but I know he got much more time than AOC. They really, that's one thing that pissed me off about this, is they like she is clearly a important person who will remain so for a long time, as well as other members of the squad and the progressives that are starting to assert themselves in the Congress. But to deny AOC, who has an enormous amount of potential, already has a huge amount of political horsepower and social media horsepower, to give her only 60 seconds, which was actually because Bernie invited her. They weren't even going to have her on this. And they give John Kasich like a strict conservative who passed all kinds of restrictive abortion laws, and it's just this big fuckhead, all because he's slightly less odious than Paul Ryan. He gets to talk a bunch. Mike Bloomberg, we're gonna go through his speech. It's mostly just so we can look at the fly landing on his face, but he was on the final night and spoke for here. I've got the video right here. Let me see. Spoke for 5 minutes, 33 seconds, and 26 frames. AOC got 60 seconds, and then because she's part of her thing was like a procedural, process thing where she seconds Bernie's nomination or something, because Bernie was the number 2 runner-up. It was also, let me just, man, it was devastating when the delegates were this sequence where a representative from every different state, which worked kind of well. It's sort of interesting to see the different locales and kind of like, oh, and this is sort of a hokey point, but like, oh man, America is such a different place all over it's a huge country. It's it's a continent. I mean, spans a continent. Sorry, Canada, you guys. I want to go up can we join Canada? Anyway, during that sequence, they would say 14 delegates go to Biden, 12 go to Bernie, 25 delegates go to Biden, 24 go to Bernie. Like that, they kept mentioning what Bernie was getting. It just made me reminiscent about the Bernie campaign and all the hope that was sort of flowing around when he was the front runner, and it was clear that there would be a really strong movement behind him. It would have energized young people, and I think you could persuade others into his cause because people hear his policies and they like him. He's an extremely effective communicator, but the forces that marshaled up against him, Obama, the Democratic establishment, they made sure to keep him out. So the billionaires got their victory. Whatever the 2020 election results are, they got their win by keeping Bernie away from power. That was their most important achievement, and they have already done it. They did it in March. Super Tuesday, I think it was March. So yeah, it was like, oh god, they're just talking about Bernie. Oh man, and Bernie did speak at the convention. He got like 4 or 5 minutes, and it's fine. So AOC though seconds Bernie's nomination as a procedural formality, and then NBC News tweets this thing out. I don't have it in front of me. I wasn't even planning on talking about it, but basically implying that she like not even quite implying, more or less saying like she refused to endorse Biden and that she tried to nominate Bernie. Like it was some sort of insurgency, that she was trying to pull some dirty move. And then people, of course, reacted with a lot of apoplexy at that. I think I used that term correctly. And even AOC did too, and trying to calling it out. But that tells me that as her star rises, and you got to know that they know that they are trying to hobble her early, and we're going to see all sorts of stuff like that over the next several years, where AOC is the recipient of not just the violent, scary, sexist, misogynist, racist, Kool-Aid drinkers on the right that are always going after her, but the Pelosi's of the world, the NBC Newses of the world, the revolving door people, all those folks that make their money, get their riches off of their positions and don't want to change the system the way she would want to change the system, they're all going to be gunning for her. And they control the big media outlets, and they control a lot of the funding. And Pelosi just endorsed Joe Kennedy over Ed Markey in Massachusetts. And which, if you know about that situation, Joe Kennedy is John F. Kennedy's, JFK's grandson or some shit, part of one of these legacy families who has no business being in office. He wouldn't be anywhere near where he is if his last name weren't Kennedy. And he's just a mainstream establishment primarying an incumbent, Ed Markey, who is a capable and decent progressive. I don't know his full record. There's probably some things I would quibble with for sure. He's been in office a long time. But, Pelosi recently endorsed the challenger. Now, they had said earlier in the year that the DCC, the Democratic Campaign Committee, or something like that, Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, which basically decides where resources go and who to support, who to endorse, but they also have a lot of influence within the system. This is behind the curtain of the Wizard of Oz show that is politics, that there's all these consultants and all these there's video teams and there's strategists and there's all sorts of whatever else. Like there's a lot of money flowing in they pay really well. So the DCCC and Pelosi and Schumer have control over all this stuff. So they decide how to do it. And they had said that they're going to blacklist anybody who works with progressive challengers. If you try to challenge an incumbent, we aren't going to let anybody who works for that challenger to get any other jobs. Because these jobs tend to be kind of transitory. You have a campaign, you work for it, then you might get a job on that person's staff or something, but you might have to go on to the next campaign or find other things. So there's a lot about networks and who you know and how your reputation. So they were blacklisting people for working for challengers. And now now she is endorsing a challenger. And the fear that they're talking about is, God, I should do. I still haven't gotten the stories I'm planning on doing. Is Ed Markey had this great video that came out.
There's an invisible contract we all signed at birth. A promise. Every hour we work means longer days of freedom and security. It paved the road in your neighborhoods, and it added up to a country. But when crisis hit, Trump's government abandoned America. We asked what we could do for our country. They looked for what they could take. But there's a truth written in every history book. If you break the sacred contract, the people make a revolution. But I helped negotiate $600 a week for any American struggling to find their next gig. They thought the son of a milkman couldn't learn the rules. I made new ones. I don't need to get on the phone and talk to lobbyists to know what working people think. I get on the streets and I listen. With all due respect, it's time to start asking what your country can do for you.
Highly recommend watching it. Where he says, ask not what, or he ends it with, it's time to ask what your country could do for you. And everybody who follows the stuff knows what that means. It means, first of all, it's amazing how far gone Americans are in terms of what they expect from their government, from their society. That the notion of expecting the government to do something is like, oh my God, can you believe he said the government should do something for you? Because it belies JFK's flowery, poetic statement or famous saying is, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. It's like, it kind of reveals, like, you know what? This is a two-way street, motherfucker. People go to work. They pay their taxes. They pick up. They're clean. They try to clean up litter. They do stuff for their country. They send their children off to your for-profit wars. What do they get for it? A dying planet? Nothing but a lifetime of stress, agony, worrying about bills and payments and housing costs, being forced to sacrifice their potential on the altar of billionaires being able to buy bigger yachts. You should get something for living in a country. It's not a crazy idea. So, but what it means though is you tax rich people so that you can pay for some of this shit. So anyway, Pelosi's a hypocrite and a monster. Free range Mitch McConnell, and she needs to be fucking out of there. It's going to be, I really hope the Democrats win. I hope Biden wins. I'm planning on voting for him. I hope the Senate, if Dems have to take the Senate, or else this is going to be even much more of a nightmare than it currently is, or it'll be a continuation of a lot of the nightmare. But man, if Pelosi stays in leadership, it's just like, God, these are the wrong people. These are the wrong generation. They were corrupt and they were shitty when they were young, and now they've been just wrecking the place for decades. And that's kind of what the DNC felt like to me, was just like, these people are so out of touch. The producing, like, they're highly produced. They got these Hollywood actors. They've got lots of, like I said, it worked okay for the format, for something no one knew, but it very much felt like Up With People, which I don't know that much about. I saw Up With People once as a kid, like a teenager or whatever. It was just really cheesy. Just had this cheesiness, and it was like right-leaning cheesiness because of all the Republicans. Colin fucking Powell, the war criminal, spoke. He got a bunch of time. Just the amount of goldfish-brained forgiveness and looking past mistakes, quote-unquote mistakes, crimes, war crimes in this country is disgusting. It's one of the reasons we don't advance. It's one of the reasons we continue to commit atrocities throughout the world and are held back from advancing our own interests in terms of human decency and human flourishing. And all the pablum and the bullshit about Biden being a decent, good guy, about how nice he is. Oh, he had these nice moments, and I get the sense that some people have had one-on-one interactions with him that were meaningful. He's very charismatic. People respond to that. A guy with that kind of confidence and those teeth, man. You see those teeth? I haven't seen teeth lined up that nice since Hitler's photos. Talking about like mature. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Like, like the foot soldiers all lined up and like North Korean soldiers. And that's funny. Like Trump's militias and Trump's goons, they don't have that kind of organization. They're individuals. So I don't mean to discount anybody. Like the kid with the stutter was pretty moving. He had a story, and Joe Biden seems to have been a positive influence on him. So Joe Biden should go be a stuttering counselor, not in charge of the nuclear arsenal. Oh, he overcame a stutter. Let's give him nuclear weapons. The fuck is that? So this lie that he's a decent person is on full display. And you can see it, like they're all calling him kind and everything. I was going to do this at the end, but I just screenshotted this one here. It's a Vox article from this morning, the 21st of August. The kindness is the point, is the headline. The DNC's best argument in a time of coronavirus: Joe Biden, unlike Donald Trump, is a decent man. Well, if you believe Tara Reid, he's not. If you believe all the other women that have come forward and said that they made him feel uncomfortable, he's not. If you look at his record on forming and architecting the mass incarceration system in America, he's not. He voted for Iraq. He was a big supporter of going to Iraq. Okay, I'll just get to this now. You know what? This will actually come up when I go through the notes. So, okay, let's start with day one. Then I'll do the notes. Then I'll do the Bloomberg stuff. We'll end with flies on Bloomberg's face. How's that sound? Okay, then you guys can all go back to church. First day, I'm just going to read my notes out loud and see what thoughts they trigger. Okay, this is just some shit I typed. The DNC wants to win over conservatives, right? This is probably a bad idea. Don't sell the lie that Biden is a man of admirable principles. He isn't. Sell the truth that, oh yeah, okay, all right. So they're trying to convince conservatives. They've decided to abandon progressives. They know that progressives have nowhere to go. As Lawrence Odonnell said, speaking about left power and who the left can vote for, you'll hear. I'll just play it. You'll see you'll understand what I'm saying.
If you want to pull the party, the major party that is closest to the way you're thinking, to what you're thinking, you must show them that you're capable of not voting for them. If you don't show them you're capable of not voting for them, they don't have to listen to you. I promise you that. I worked within the Democratic Party. I didn't listen or have to listen to anything on the left while I was working in the Democratic Party because the left had nowhere to go.
Yeah, the left had nowhere to go. They don't need to earn the left because you will vote for them, and I'm going to do that. This is the grift. I'm fully aware. I'm holding my hands up, and the mugger is sorting through my pockets, and I am a complicit in this. And he's speaking, folks who are making the argument of not voting for Biden, not voting for Trump, would point to this video as a good reason why you shouldn't, or at least as an indicator of how the party works and thinks. And I'm not persuaded by that. I still think that we need to reduce harm. However, I understand that the impulse to be angry and to refuse. I'm fucking pissed. I'm working through it. Oop, my mic there. I'm working through it publicly, trying to talk it out, trying to reason it out, emotion it out, whatever. It's worth talking about. But it's ugly. And so they're not pursuing Democratic votes, or they're not pursuing lefty votes or progressive votes. They're pursuing Republican votes, this mythical suburban voter that might, I mean, not that it's mythical that people live in the suburbs, but like they think that by appealing to this kind of story that's already been formed, it's like a groove worn into a table. It's like it's much more comfortable for them to stay in this lane of being like, oh, we all love America and we're all patriots, so we all want to shoot Muslims. Oh, I mean, I didn't mean to say that part out loud. That's what Republicans say. But we all want to make giant profits for the defense industry, and we all like to sing the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance and all that bullshit. You know, pretending to be like Republicans who are okay with abortion and weed. Although they're not even all that good on weed, by the way. Dumb fucking Biden. And I think that, as I said in the couple episodes ago, or as you know, the DNC is not going to pursue marijuana legalization, or the Biden administration is not. They'll probably still keep it. Why am I rambling about this? But they'll probably still keep it Schedule 1 alongside heroin and meth, which is ridiculous. So they're going for conservatives, but they're trying to sell conservatives that Biden is honest and nice and decent. I didn't even finish before I was going off on what fucking his long record of voting and hurting people. We're going to get to that more, I think. I mean, it's going to come back up because grief is going to come back up. But that's not persuasive to conservatives. Look who they support. They love the liars. They think they're all good. For some reason, I mean, they've been forced to sort of say that Trump isn't great, but they go like, well, yeah, he's a little fast and loose with the truth, but especially the evangelicals, they think God is like, it's just an imperfect messenger. Just the absolute worst possible person on the planet. An amalgamation of every single possible thing that could be horrible and disgusting about a human being, all wrapped up into one person. Every worst instinct and trait, and all go deeply rooted back to the founding of America, this racist apartheid state with its vast caste system of oppression, has been formed itself into a totem that is a golem. I think that would be the better word. A golem that we now must fight. But the people who call themselves the standard bearers of morality have decided he is their guy. Everything's upside down and topsy-twisty. That's not true. That implies that it was right side up before. Wouldn't downside up be the opposite of upside down? But it's right side up, not downside up. Okay. All right. So instead of saying that Biden is a good person, just be honest. That's the thing. I think that like people detect bullshit, and like conservatives, whoever are persuaded by Trump, he verifies their racist identity, their latent racist tendencies. He sells them on the idea that they're aggrieved, and he's very persuasive. He's a salesperson. He's a con man. He has that crazy, mesmerizing wizard spell of confidence that people fall for. And they know he's a piece of shit. They like that. So instead of saying that Biden is decent and good, why don't they sell conservatives that Biden, and this would be honest, Biden is wealthy. Biden is a conniving politician. Biden is corrupt. Biden is a liar. He lied so many times during the campaign. He would just make shit up. Say he's a racist. You can't convince me that his career is not filled with racist votes. Iraq itself had a degree. You think they would have invaded Finland? You think there's not some anti-Muslim or racism against Muslims built into the United States policies in the Middle East? A lot of it's about corporate access to resources and oil and geopolitical strategy and all that other bullshit. But there's no fucking way that there's not racism involved in that. But particularly his support for jailing as many black people and breaking apart as many black people's families and poor people's families as you possibly could for the benefit of what? This bloodlust, this evolution of America's violence against the lower classes, its secondary castes. It's capitalist scumbag. So if they had said all that, I think they'd be more persuasive to conservative voters. All right, that's one note down. Biden's a bullshitter. Yeah, he's a really good bullshitter. That's his. He is like a Donald Trump. He has that. Like that's you don't rise to these levels in politics unless you're great at this bullshit, and he is. He's good at that. So he's an old rich prick, and that would be more persuasive than being like, look at Biden. John Legend is a friend of his. Also, Colin Powell and John Kasich too. Come on over. It's just disgusting. So, like, here's something I wrote. If you're going to go after Republican votes, don't sell them lies liberals fall for. Sell them truths conservatives fall for. Seems pretty obvious. Hire me, bitches. All right, so, okay. The opening, night one. God damn, it's going to take forever. I should be out there working on my dad's hammer. They're called mallets, actually, in woodworking terms. Okay, we'll do this. Okay, all right. I got a plan. All right. So I wasn't even going to go into the national anthem here until I was looking it up, getting a video this morning. I wanted to find this Pledge of Allegiance video, and it's coming up. It's after the national anthem. Because if there's one thing America loves, it's ritualistic nationalist brainwashing that we have embedded in our cultural traditions and have been there for so long that we don't question how fucking crazy it is that our nation forces us to chant loyalty and sing proudly of what? How many millions of people's lives have been devastated because they had the misfortune of being born in this country, dying from being unable to afford insulin, dying from air pollution. People die from air pollution all over the world. It hits poor communities worse than other communities. And all the ways that this country lets people down, because you're supposed to do for your country, not your country's not supposed to do for you, right? So anyway, it was funny. I found this entertaining the way that they had produced this. So we're just going to dive into it a little bit. There was a couple. If you detect any weird audio glitches, it's because it was the C-SPAN feed was pausing, so I had to edit it down, and it didn't get it perfect because the frame rate was off. The audio timing is different than the frame rate, which can mean that, I could have fixed it if this was like a professional thing, but so just watch this opening thing come on. Those of you that don't have the video will see a lot of faces, different people, very diverse. Give Democrats credit for that. We're going to see a wall of white people with the occasional tokenisms thrown in throughout the Republican Party tomorrow or next week. It'll be even more they'll definitely overrepresent their token members because that will they're trying to trick people, but it's actually just a bunch of whiteys calling the shots, and that's what they want. They're gunning for an ethno state built around white supremacy. So the Democrats are embracing the diversity stuff, and I'm good with that. I'm not knocking on that here at all, but they have everybody wearing red, white, and blue shirts and singing, and the way it just pulls out, it's just ridiculous. Let's just go. I'm over talking. So the camera's pulling back, and more faces are entering the frame as each head gets smaller. It's becoming a more crowded field of heads. Mostly all young folks, I'm going to say. These look like 24 and under, probably maybe even teens. I see someone with braces. The ramparts were gallantly streaming. What the fuck does that mean? Isn't rampart? I thought that was the footpath that's along the castle wall. I don't know. I have no idea. Oh. Okay, the pullback, the scaling back, that's an editing term, stops. So they hit their keyframe, and then they go, and the rockets, right? So now we got the part of the national anthem that's about bombs. Do other national anthems reference bombs blowing up? Not just like saying like, oh, we had to bomb our way out of this, and now we have a country. Everybody go buy some pretzels and buy some beer. That's like a baseball. But they're venerating the glowing rockets, the sight of the bombs. Rockets are glaring, bombs are bursting. Now they're showing the names of these people. It's just a real quick. One guy's name is Maine. One girl's name is Nevada. Another girl's name is Washington. Someone's name is California, Idaho, Oklahoma. Who's wearing glasses. Utah, Virgin Islands, Mississippi. So those are some weird names. No, but obviously, I'm trying to be humorous. Still there. Up there. Up. Close. Oh, the mix on that was off. She sounded like she had a nice voice. You hear the little, like a young woman. She had a pretty voice. Fucking just turn everybody else down. Turn her up, man. All right, good. I can't. I'm fast forwarding. Here it comes. Here comes the big finale. You ready? The crescendo, as we like to call it. I want to be the guy that goes, free. Hey! Someone gets to do that. I think that's funny. Involuntarily brave because you're trapped in a fucking nightmare society built around white supremacy and oppression and capitalist exploitation of every single person that can possibly do it. A tiny percentage can earn their way into the capitalist class, and we'll point to them as an example of everybody else not working hard enough. Okay, those lyrics were deleted from the original version. So now at this point, all the faces, and as a motion graphics editor, I could do this kind of work, and it's tedious. It wouldn't be super easy. I mean, you'd have to it'd be easy once you get the scheme built and you can kind of like control it. But it's a lot of keyframes here and probably in After Effects to move all these different images into different locations. So now each head moves into, I was hoping this would be 45 minutes. I'm talking about After Effects. Good God, Hank. So yeah, each one's moving to a equidistant array, which for those of you lucky enough to be watching on YouTube will recognize very quickly. Now they're masking into stars. So these little boxes, vertical rectangles that were holding each person's face is now becoming a star. I did not mean to say morphing. I meant to say masking. It's I don't know if it's a morph something, but they're okay. They're using masks to create a barrier around the image. And then that's it. Let's just rewind it real quick one more time because I think my rambling fucked it up. Yeah! Take that, Saddam! You fucking jerk! What the hell is this shit? Democratic National Convention. And then I thought that was it, and I wasn't going to do this on today's show, but of course, this being America, what do you think is next? What do you think is going to come up right next? I'm just going to play it. You're going to hear it.
Hello, my name is Reverend Gabriel Salguero. Let us pray.
Let us lean back and sigh along the sigh. Fuck. Okay, I'm not going to go off on some anti-religion rant. My sense of spirituality has evolved over my life. I think it's important for people to feel connected to their universe and for their life to have meaning. I have my own interpretation of a way of looking at how the universe works that I actually think I could persuade you into believing. I'm not going to go into it right now because it's science-based and it's also simplistic. It's built around rarity. You are a very rare piece of the universe compared to all the hydrogen that exists throughout the universe, starting from the Big Bang and the process that brought us together to you having technology in your ears that's pumping my voice into your head. That's a pretty rare thing. It's not happening on Mercury. That's my religion. No, I'm saying, but I don't fault people. I'm faulting the embrace of this specific religion's bullshit and its presence in our government functions and how disgusting that is. It's bad enough that these places are tax exempt And, churches do offer some benefit to communities, but there's a lot of grift in the religious side of this world. And America is a grifter's paradise, particularly religious grifters. So here's part of the grift. Well, because we all have to pretend like this like empty calorie bullshit matters.
Almighty God, we confess that our nation needs you and has always needed you.
Who are you talking to? You're asking somebody up in the sky to... Okay.
We pray for your blessing upon all of us, Republicans, independents, and Democrats.
But not progressives or leftists.
As we strive to form a more perfect union.
There's my show. More perfect union, baby.
We pray for your strength, guidance, and wisdom. Lord, we recognize that we are living in challenging times.
So he's talking to the all-powerful, right? The creator of everything. The dude only worked 6 days. Did it all in 6 days. All the way down to there's a parasite that gets into this fish, and it eats its tongue, and then it becomes the tongue. It is shaped, or somehow it changes, and it becomes the fish's tongue. God invented that in the 6 days before his Sunday nap, before football and Doritos.
That call us to live up to the highest angels of our national character. As we confront the turbulent winds of a global pandemic.
I just like any prayer to God that includes global pandemic.
Economic uncertainty and civil discord. May your gracious...
Hey, God, we love you. You're great. So about all that suffering.
His hand lead us to the peaceful shores of love, justice, and civility.
Yeah.
Help us, O Lord, to be ever mindful of the most vulnerable among us.
Agree. Yes. Why don't we just stick with that part?
From our golden generation to our youngest children.
Golden? Is that what is golden generation? Is that old people?
De nuestros inmigrantes to our veterans. From our healthcare workers to our school teachers. Give us a heart of compassion and grace. This nation, from Miami to Minneapolis and from Portland to El Paso, ask...
Wait a minute. What about Boston?
Ask you to shepherd us to a hope-filled vision that does justice, ama la misericordia, and walks humbly before you. I pray this in the matchless name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Man, why did I take French? What a fucking waste that was. All right. So we do a prayer. Nice. And then,
welcome to our convention across America.
Eva Longoria. Okay, so the Pledge of Allegiance comes up. Let me just boom, boom, boom. All right, here we go. So I might have already had this rant on here, so I'm trying to try not to do, because I'm sure it'll come up again. I always have this thought when I talk about I think the Pledge of Allegiance is a fucking horrifying, manipulative Nazi thing, man. Real quick. I've also probably told this story before, but in high school, me and a friend of mine befriended an exchange student from Germany named Thomas. Thomas was really cool. He talked like this. He had this funny voice, and he was Thomas, and he was just kind of a smart kid, and he just had the fun, So we would do a dumb teenage shit, drive around in my friend's Mustang, a crappy ass old Mustang. I was already tall, and I would sit in the back, and there was no room. It's fine. I liked it. It was good. But Thomas was a good guy, and I asked him once about Nazi stuff in Germany. What's it like there? What do they do? What is it like having that history? And what's it? He goes, well, they teach us. Everybody, it's a big part of our history. And he talked a little bit about that, but he said that that they don't ignore it. And he said, he made sure that that was part of basically his point. But he said the most Nazi thing he'd ever seen was coming to America and seeing the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance, seeing big groups of people forced to stand, put their hand over their heart, and pledge loyalty to a flag and sing a song. Like, it's crazy. So okay, fine. Do other countries do the national or Pledge of Allegiance? I don't know. I have no idea. Our schools force students every morning, and a lot of politicians embrace this crap. I don't know if it's still up, but during the campaign, I remember Tulsi Gabbard's Twitter feed was the pinned tweet, which is a place of decidedly honor, was her saying the national anthem in her creepy ASMR voice. it's just so the national anthem, or sorry, I keep saying the Pledge of Allegiance. If you took my kid and you forced them to ritually chant, murmur in a group, I think doing it in a group actually reinforces the strength of it, by the way. That's partially how groups are able to kind of coalesce behind something, is you have a ritual with other people. Now you have a shared experience. That's why when you watch The Bachelor, you always bet on the person they bungee jump with, okay? Little tip for you young ones out there. Always bet on the person they have an emotionally stressful experience with, because that's a bonding moment. That's what cements it. I haven't watched The Bachelor in a few years. I got to get back to that. It's a weird goal. I got to start watching The Bachelor again. So the Pledge of Allegiance imbues the children, and during their very formative years, where they trust adults and they have yet to learn to question authority and to think for themselves. I think we could do with a lot more individual thinking and self-thinking for yourself. I might be apparent to you. I was always kind of a rebellious thinker. I didn't buy any of the bullshit. I just had a pretty early, well-developed bullshit detector. And I think that comes with just kind of having a creative, highly active mind, and also just I can't fucking handle it, honestly. But so people that love America, that get offended at the story of America, or when someone like this show, like my podcast, which is probably people who don't agree with my politics, would think this is a highly judgmental show, and I'm shitting on the founding fathers and on the American story and on the American character and all that. If you look at it truthfully, with some honesty, with an open mind, and you start to learn about America's history, you see how devastatingly brutal this society's been for many, many, many of its citizens. It's been beautifully beneficial for the rich white landowners who wrote the fucking founding documents, the slave-owning traffickers and rapists who started this place. But so if you wanted to instill a nationalist spirit into someone, you would force their children to pledge not to criticize the country. Pledging allegiance is pledging loyalty. And one nation under God, and they added that under God phrase in the 50s. I'm doing this all before. I should probably play it first. But I just think that it's just utterly madness that people, parents, and that we're all okay with brainwashing children to be uncritical thinkers of the society in which they live, and have to deal with the rules and live under its dictates. So what's the downstream effect of that, though, this brainwashing? Some people, it's not going to probably mean anything one way or the other. It might just be a thing they do during their day. But I think for some people like me, I'm probably in the tinier, smaller group here, where that I didn't think this way during my youth as a child, speaking the national anthem. It was actually kind of nice. It's probably sort of like how church works too. You go to church, you have this group bonding thing. When you're a kid, it's sort of comforting if it's a decent church. And then you grow up and you have some fond memories of it. I don't know. Some people have that about national anthem, but I never felt like I didn't have this negative feelings about it when I was a child. But for a lot of people, it instills in them, and it probably works very subconsciously, an unwillingness to criticize the government or the country, or combined with a reflexive bristling at any criticism of the society or the country. So they've basically trained, starting as children, they train Americans who go to public school, although I'm assuming they probably do this at private schools too. American children are conditioned deliberately to be reflexively defensive about any criticisms of the country or of the government. So that way they can, you just have this much higher, it just increases the angle of the hill that needs to be climbed to persuade people to make the place better. We could do so much better. But you have things like national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance and other ways that Americans, the propaganda story of this country is just beaten into children's heads. And I think the Pledge of Allegiance is like the worst example of that. And I think it's repulsive to me to do this to children. If they did a pledge of like to human decency or something that was like a hey, I pledge to try my best to work with others, to be open-minded, like something, even that I would be like, why do you the pledge is just the weird part. But like, we're pledging just to loyalty to a fucking symbol, to a flag, the same flag that the burgeoning Nazi movement in America carries around. They carry the United States flag, they carry the Confederate flag, and they carry the swastika. Okay, all right. How far? Oh my God, over an hour, 20 minutes. Jesus Christ. So, okay, so this played out, and it was weird at first. I didn't know who these folks were. Wait a minute. What the fuck? Where's the video? Okay, so this is a bad cut here. So if you're looking at it on screen, it just looks like a... Oh, yeah, let's do the gavel. Sorry, rewinding really quick, and then I'm going to let it play. So this guy is Representative Benny Thompson. Hey, Benny, he's a fellow son of Thomp, Democratic National Convention chair. And the way he hammers the gavel after calling out the opening ceremony or whatever, this is like the guy that goes, all right, here we go. Here. Just listen to how he hits the gavel. It's sort of ominous and scary.
Democratic National Convention to order.
Okay, so then they pause on the boom, big hit on the gavel. Gavel. I have smacked the wooden disc with the wooden disc smacker. Therefore, it is now official. It's funny that judges do that. Do judges have a gavel at their house? I would like beans, not creamed corn. All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Okay. These creepy children all have their hands on their hearts. It's not sure who they are. They're all white. So what was weird about this was that they're all honkies. And there's a good explanation for that. It's actually not something to get my my tidy blueies up in a bind about. But let's just finish it, then I'll keep talking.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bullshit. Liberty and justice for all, my fucking ass. I pledge allegiance to let capitalists exploit me and manipulate me with mass marketing and mass advertising and mass mind control, and for everybody who is free. It's just fucking nonsense. So who are these people? They're Joe Biden's grandkids. That's why you get a group of honkies. That's fine. At the time, though, I was thinking, because you're so used to everything being diverse, you got to have an Asian guy and a black guy and a Hispanic lady, and you got to, try to represent everybody. As cheesy and as kind of awkward as that is, I think that's good. I'm not comforted when it's all whiteys for lots of good reasons. But in this case, I thought that maybe they were like slyly trying to appeal to the evangelicals, those that are comforted when there's a greater preponderance of white faces than darker colors. Just to have this moment, this nationalistic ritual imposed on them. And I was thinking, well, maybe they're really micro-targeting the evangelicals. But it turns out these are Joe Biden's grandkids, and they seem all like a nice group of folks. I hope they're right-wing fucking, smear merchants. I mean, because that's part of the cost of this, of being a public figure. Unfortunately, there's just so many crazies out there that you're exposing your family to some risks. So hopefully they'll be fine. Then they probably will be. They're all going to grow up with money and friends that die of drug overdoses, expensive drug overdoses. Okay, so all right, good. That's the Pledge of Allegiance ramble. Let's try to burn through some of this stuff. Honestly, it's going to get hot in the sun. Okay, so I got to get out to my balcony and start working on my mallet. So the COVID testimonials, they had some folks doing COVID, like my dad died. Those were actually okay. I thought those were somewhat effective. They were letting regular people tell their stories. Those were, in my opinion, the best parts of most of the convention. Over the week, regular people speaking about things in their life. I wish they'd hit Trump harder on the COVID stuff. There's a few speakers that I think did well enough, I guess. but they could easily be just. I mean, this is one of the world's worst disasters, and it's playing out in slow motion, and we're all living through it. And it's all because of the Trump administration and conservative philosophy, as well as neoliberal philosophy. I mean, it's a giant, well-baked pie of American dysfunction and comorbidities that have caused this to be so bad. So it could have been more of that, but it was good that they included those. Here's a note I wrote: "We are choosing who gets to profit off our misery, not fix it." By it, I mean our misery. So, like, we're putting in these Democrats who are corporatists, who are embracing Colin Powell, John Kasich, and the Republican, the Never Trumpers, the Lincoln Project fuckheads. We're not picking someone to fix our misery. We're just picking who's going to profit off of our misery. That's it. They're just figuring out how to make money off it. They're not going to be as flagrant as Trump, but they're still going to serve their corporate masters. They're still going to make sure that the billionaires get paid and continue to get paid. Watch. We'll see. Let's make a prediction. And I want to look this up, and I've already made a note to do it. How much money did billionaires have at the beginning of Obama's term and at the end? How much money did they have at the beginning of Trump and then at the end? And how much money will billionaires have? More money by the end of Biden's term or less money? Of course, we all know the answer. They'll have more. The system's set up so that they never stop making more money. And how would you reduce billionaires? Well, you'd impose a wealth tax. And we're going to talk a little bit about that when we go through the Bloomberg thing. So your misery is beneficial because your misery means that they can placate you with the slightest changes, but they're not going to do any kind of major systemic reforms. Bernie was going to start the process of reforming this big systems. He actually meant what he said. It would have been a ugly, weird slog, and he unlikely would have gotten anywhere close to what we all want, but it would have been, I think people are persuaded by someone as clear speaking as he is. And I really was so excited to see what a president like him would have been like. God damn it. All right, next, okay, Klobuchar. Yeah, Klobuchar spoke. Yeah, she's so bad. I don't know how I wrote something about wrestling. Like, she is such a bullshitter that is it, but like Biden's a smooth bullshitter. Her bullshit works. I can't believe we live in a society where someone of such poor communication skill, and I think she probably believes that she's good at this. I mean, fuck, she just had a pretty successful presidential attempt. It's weird that we still apply terms like success to it. Andrew Yang, I'd say, was probably the most successful, other than Biden, but in terms of raising his profile and becoming a national figure, he was just some guy that ran a fucking, a digital ice cream truck or whatever the fuck he did before. He did some tech stuff. But Klobuchar, she tells these jokes. She's it's so corny and shitty. And for some reason, it's like the audience watching wrestling, and why am I talking about wrestling? I think wrestling's cool. I mean, I'm fine with it. It's dramatic. It's soap opera. It's just storytelling. It's just like heroes and villains. It's superhero stuff. It's comic book crap. It's soap. It's just like, oh, look, you have these guys. They don't like those guys, and we're gonna watch them be entertaining and weird. And the real or fakeness of it is, it's like, I don't care. The outcomes are predetermined. It's fucking real. They're taking crazy risks. They're also selling it. I mean, they're actors, they're performers. I actually know, not closely, but I've hung out with Colt Cabana, who's like a professional wrestler. There's also not all professional wrestling is WWE too. But anyway, what does that have to do with anything? I just went through some comedy connections and stuff. But they're performing, and it's fucking real. It's brutal on their bodies. I have a lot of respect for wrestling. Really, I really do. But so I don't think the fans necessarily give a shit or think it's real. They love this. It's a display. It's a spectacle. That's the word I was looking for. But there is a part where you go like, hey, wait a minute, is this fake? And like, I feel like Klobuchar opens up that vein a little because she's such an obvious lying bullshitter. Like, who thinks that she's authentic? The permanent smile. She's almost as bad as Mike Pence. She's got that Blizzard joke about how her campaign announcement was in a blizzard. Big fucking deal. That's the funnest disaster. Blizzards are awesome. I mean, I know they can kill people and stuff, but they're beautiful in the first 6 hours. Fresh snow is gorgeous, by the way. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. All right. Oh, yeah. One of the things that there was a little package about Joe Biden taking the train to work every day on Amtrak, just like one of you poors. Joe Biden would get up, go to his job, and then he would come home to where the food and bed lives. And this means he's just like us. He's just like you. So they make, and this has been true for Joe Biden's whole career. I don't know when. I mean, not the early years before he lived near the Amtrak station or whatever, but wow. He goes to work and goes home. They really think that is persuasive. And they tell that story, and it must be because it is one of their go-to hits. It is their Hotel California by The Wall or whatever band sings that fucking song. Do you ever have a job? If you went to work and then you went home, you should be president. It's just so stupid. All right, I could probably talk for 40 more minutes about that. I'd like to. I wonder if Joe pisses standing up. Do you think he pisses standing up like me? Sometimes I just like to sit down, though. You know, if I've got like a Jacobin article to finish. That would be funny if they're like, Joe Biden urinates with his wiener. His sleepy wiener. Standing up. He flushes the toilet using his hand. He zips his pants and buttons them. Vote for Joe Biden. Big fucking deal. For his rich, powerful job. What, because he wasn't driven in a private car? It's fucking ridiculous. I wrote, get him, Bernie. Fucking get him. That's that one. Here's a note that says, look at this bullshit. Bernie spoke about policy more than others. There was some policy talk, nowhere near enough. There could have been a whole lot more. It was kind of, that's certainly don't want to get too into the details about Joe Biden's voting record or about what their promises are. But, it's just all this hokey pablum, this bullshit about the American spirit and the character, and we do it together. It's so just bad. Michelle, okay, we're still on day one. We'll go we'll go through the rest fairly quickly. I thought Michelle Obama was pretty good. She's an excellent speaker. She's not going to give a socialist rant like I would, like I'd like to see. So it's like, I think it's funny though when people get upset that it's not. It's like, yeah, I know they're just. That's why I'm evaluating it. Like, did they achieve what they thought they were trying to achieve, or what I think they thought they were trying to achieve? And she did a good job. I think people look to her as I hope that the people that can still be persuaded as a leader. I mean, I think that like people look to their betters, more public people, and for guidance. And I'm glad that she does that the way she does, I guess. So let's hope it was persuasive. I didn't write too much about that. I thought she was fine. Day two. Have they highlighted any of Joe's votes during his career that helped somebody? I would like to know what votes he's done that helped people. I know that later on in the week, they did a thing about his support for the Violence Against Women Act. I don't know a ton about it. They made it seem like it was all him and he did it all by himself or worked with others to do it, but like it was his big thing. And they're not going to tell you every little nuance. So I would imagine there's probably some details they left out on purpose there. I don't know. I'm just predicting, knowing how these propagandists work, that they don't tell you the shitty parts. It's pretty obvious. I would also offer the idea that maybe health not being for Medicare for all and supporting a for-profit insurance system is a kind of violence against women, against men, against children, against everybody. You know, how is dying from lack of health insurance not considered violence. It's not a bloody, it's not you got shot or stabbed or fell, had your head cracked open by a really good home run at a softball game. Is that violent? I mean, it's an accident, but tens of thousands of people will die. So Joe Biden supports women. Except he'll be okay with, let's say it's 50,000 die, roughly 50-50 men, women, 25,000 women. Is that a connection that makes sense to you or not? I mean, it frustrates me that politicians can impose these things on society that kills people, like the Second Amendment and fucking guns. These things kill people. I don't think you'll ever eliminate all early death from society, but we could try. We should. What's your number? How many gun deaths are you okay with? Mine is 0. How many lack of healthcare deaths are you okay with? Mine is 0. I don't want anybody to die early. We should all die old and alone in a nursing home because we choked on an applesauce lid. Those lids, they go right down when you lick hard enough. Man. It's so fucking irritating. Okay, let's see. Joe Biden has menaced America his entire life, so we're going to reward him by making him president. He's the villain in a lot of stories, in a lot of people's lives. A lot of people, and they don't know that. That's partially how the curtain, the very thick wall that protects these monsters from accountability, is they vote for Iraq. They give speeches about it. They persuade others into building a world's largest prison system and aggressive policing against black people and poor people and people of color, of all colors. And they, make themselves a pretty penny, and they make their donors a pretty penny during the whole process. And people's lives are destroyed. People's lives are ruined. People's families are torn apart. They die. They suffer. They're scared. They're stressed. That's not violence. And we don't know. We can't connect it all straight back to them because it's not as obvious as someone walking up to you and stabbing you in the gut. But I don't see. I think it's a lot worse. It's systemic oppression and life extraction. It's like an evil monster that just sucks up your life energy. Give it to me, and then they let their even in a good life where you don't end up in prison or something or violently killed. You work for a piece of shit. You work for a capitalist. You're the person who runs and owns your company is not looking out for you at all. To the degree that they do, it's because they've been forced to by progressive and labor movements throughout history, throughout American history, and global, and throughout the world. And this is a system that's supported. This is what Nancy Pelosi is fighting to her very last years as a vampire to maintain. She and Mitch McConnell have the same fucking goals. That is to prevent the capitalists who run the place from losing any power. And same as Joe Biden. Very quietly recently, this week, they removed language from the platform saying that they're going to end fossil fuel subsidies. So remember, to feel guilty about the little bit of money that the government is helping you with in the pandemic, if you're fortunate enough to be receiving it, and I have been. I'd be out doing Postmates right now probably if I weren't. And you're supposed to feel guilty about that little bit of money. That all goes immediately back into the economy because you have to spend every goddamn dime. But no, these oil companies, the greatest murderers on the planet because of the potential extinction of the human species caused by global warming driven by energy companies, as well as all the other downstream industries that are, that benefit from this, from lack of pollution enforcement, are going to kill billions of people. And the Democrats, the most progressive platform in history, as we keep hearing, they just that's an eraser noise. That's the sound of an eraser. There was a whole bunch of climate change bullshit during this thing. That's okay. That's what I had to say about that. grief. I want to talk about grief. I'm just going to hold on to that for a second here. I've got a bunch of notes here. Okay, day 3. All that empathy bullshit. Politics is about storytelling, not outcomes. It's about what bullshit can be sold as the truth. Something I wrote there. Yeah, I mean, it's just who can they trick? What's fucking gross to me is just how many people fall for it, man. It's like, don't you think that it isn't the policy, the way they voted, the things they argued for, and the way they, like, who paid them to vote a certain way or not, should be more important than can they produce a highly edited package that makes it look like they're helping somebody, some individual story where he stopped and talked to a guy for a little while. That's nice. That's nice. Go be a stutterer counselor, man. It's great. You could help people, but you don't need to have all this power in our lives. Look at their fucking records. His policies do not reflect the saccharine bullshit, man. It just don't. That's what I'm thinking while I'm watching all of this during this week. Yeah, we've got some health insurance notes here. Hundreds of millions, makes a tidy profit for the trouble. I always think I should write. I started out my creative interests, which evolved into a frustrated life in my 20s, not knowing what to do with my creativity, and then I discovered stand-up comedy in my late 20s and shifted my whole life into pursuing a career in creative something. But I originally, in my teens years, writing was always my thing up until my late 20s, until stand-up and then talking became. This is essentially just my writing process being vomited into a microphone. So writing was always the first thing I was interested in pursuing, and I tried to be a humor columnist in college. Actually, I had these little tinges of this is people in high school at lunch and stuff would tell me I should be a comedian, even, which I never even internalized. Didn't even occur to me to even take that seriously. But I had funny stories because my grandma used to be mean to me because I was fat, and I don't know. Anyway. So I do think I should write columns. I think I could write I could write. I know how to write. All right. When I worked at the Young Turks, they figured, this is the first iteration when I worked there 7-8 years ago. They figured out I'm a decent writer, and they're like, hey, why don't you do the headlines? And then I screwed up by being good at it, and I became the head. My job title at the time was head of publishing. Not that it was a formalized thing, but you get to kind of make up your own. But I was whatever. So I know how to. Why am I complimenting myself on my writing ability when I don't write? I think in the future, this is just this idea here. The millions of people whose lives have been upended and destroyed, or just they were in debt for 4 years, they were in debt for 10 years. You don't have to look very hard to find stories of people struggling and going to, I don't remember the details. It's just flashing in my brain. Somebody tweeted how they had to go to the emergency room. They did one little test and the thing wasn't there. Something wasn't there, and they sent him home, and then he gets a bill for $3,000 for being given Benadryl or something. That is one of that is a molecule in a ocean of stories like that. And I think in the future, if there is a future that is connected to this time, because if the apocalypse really hits, all the electricity goes, and then all the hard drives get wiped eventually, and it'll be a slow transition because there's some diesel backup generators that probably keep the hard drive working for a while. But eventually there might be a future where there is no all the digital records are gone. So they'll have to do some kind of weird archaeology about us. I think it's an interesting sci-fi concept, though. We're the ancients. We would be I think a show or a book. I have this idea of 10 to 50,000 years in the future, small pockets of humans are reemerging and rediscovering these continents and finding these cities and these roads. And how would they interpret all the stuff that they find? I think it'd be really interesting. I think it's a cool idea. I should probably write it instead of speaking it into my podcast. But in the future, and it could only be 20 or 30 years, but we'll look back on, it'll probably be 100 years. If we get to the point where people in America have comprehensive, full, healthy, free at point of use, like the British NHS, which has its problems but could be a lot better and could be better because the conservatives there are trying to destroy it, trying to Americanize it. We're going to look back on this as an atrocity. This is an atrocity, what this country does to people. The murder, the violence that CEOs of healthcare companies impose on people. The for-profit hospital system. Look at the way it's contributed to the pandemic, to Trump's virus. It has caused such chaos, and it is so stupid. Just in terms of sheer, if you embrace the capitalistic notion that we need exponential growth, it's bad business. It's fucking more expensive to not be prepared and to let people be alive, but they don't want you to have that notion. Same reason, and I keep trying to do the post office story. I'm just not going to do it today, but it's probably next time, or hopefully. Same reason they're trying to kill the post office, because that's one thing that they could make money from, because they know that a lot of people need it, but also they don't like the idea that government can be a positive benefit to society. It goes against their ideology, and it goes against the interests of their corporate overlords. They want to privatize everything, and the post office is something that people are rightfully upset about, because it is a glorious example of the good that government can do, and it should be better. It's been hobbled, especially in the last 20 years. But I like to think, okay, I'll get into that next time. I mean, when I talk about it, because otherwise I'll just end up repeating myself. But there'll be memorials to the drug war. There'll be memorials to this war against people's health, for-profit health insurance that kills people, kills tens of thousands every year, stresses everybody else out. Employer-based health insurance is a disgusting pox on humanity. You're only valuable enough to be barely kept alive if you're producing equity for a fucking capitalist. Get a job, you can have health care, sort of. That's the best you can hope for. I didn't even have health care at my last job. I only had it for 2 months before they fired me, laid me off. That's a bigger story. But I think the future generations are going to look back and go, wow, they really, man, those people put up with a lot of shit, man. Like, what society would tolerate this stuff? Okay, so Obama's speech, a few notes about that. Man, I wrote too much. I'll just read what I wrote. Obama did some good digs at Trump. Then he talked about Biden. Yeah, okay, so I like that Obama went after Trump. It worked. I think it's important. This former president's club is nonsense, but I understand. It's a position in society where very few are, and there's this unspoken norm that you don't criticize your predecessor or your successor. And Obama's mostly stuck to that. He campaigned a little, I guess, in 2018, but he's been really quiet, and he's kind of hesitant to weigh in. And he did finally. I would like to see a shit ton more, but I was glad to see what I saw, what he did in speaking about how dangerous Trump is. He was pretty clear, and he's a great speaker. This guy's got charisma. He's got Hank-like charisma. I gotta be honest with you. He's pretty great. I mean, that's why he became the president, and that's why he's had the career he is. He's thrived in this system. But then he switches to talking about how great Biden is, and that's the same thing I've been saying this whole podcast. It's like, here comes the fucking lily gilding. I have no idea if I'm using that phrase correctly. You're painting a leaf gold, right? Isn't that what they do? Like, hey, it's a flower already. Fuckface, it doesn't need to be gold. I guess Joe Biden's not already a flower. I think that's why I know that that's not being used. Hold on, let me get a sip of drugs here. Hold on a second. Cold brew. Cold brew, baby. I make my own cold brew. It's fun. It's fun. I'd be a good husband, because you know why? I'll make you some cold brew too. Yeah, it just, oh, all right, fuck you, Trump. I'm like, yeah. Joe Biden's a good man. I'm like, just, no, he's not. I know you want us to believe that. And actually, fine, people need to believe it. No one wants to think they're voting for this scumbag. He's a scumbag. He's a fucking piece of shit. Hank Thompson of the Winners and Losers guy hates him. So it's just disingenuous, and it's all about what story they can sell. One thing that pissed me off, Obama had said something about democracy not being transactional, as if it's you shouldn't just expect your politicians to do what you want. You're supposed to advocate and fight for it. So voting, even though he's the vote guy, vote, you dumb motherfuckers. He's also the guy who says voting's not enough. Do more than vote. Vote. Which one? And is it Obama? Do you want us to vote and go away? Or in looking back, you tell us we voted, but we didn't do enough. Which one is it, Obama? But the part that pissed me off was the transactional idea. It is transactional for the rich. They pay for a service and they receive that service. And then they fold, this is again the theme, one of the themes of today's episode. Then they fold the legislators into their business, and they fold their families into their businesses too, blurring the line between private and public interests, corporate interests, and government policy, which is very much part of a pillar of how fascism works, the further entrenchment of corporate interests into government, in the inability to distinguish between the two. If you're rich, you get a transaction, and it's very lucrative. It's high return on investments. Their lobbyists write the policies. A lot of laws are passed that have words in them, stretches, paragraphs of language that is directly from policy papers and written by lobbyists. It's this enormous system of bribery. You have money, it's transactional. If you're like the rest of us, most of us, the 99%, hey, it's not transactional. You got to get out there and you got to work for it. You got to take time off your overwhelming job. You don't get paid vacation. You don't have time. You work more hours than every other developed country in the world. And you got to get out there and advocate for it. It's not enough. It's your fault. It's just basically Obama's way of saying it's your fault for not doing enough to change the system. He was a fucking president, man. He sold us on change. So yeah, Obama's better attacking Trump, but also like it's something I wrote. But look what it took for him to break the norms, to even sort of break the norm, to speak up and say something about Trump. Because I don't think Obama's wrong. Obama seemed to be genuinely concerned about the threats that Trump poses. I think we're all kind of underestimating the threat right now, honestly. It's going to be fucking chaos. It's going to be wild up to the election, and then November is going to be an utter nightmare. There'll be violence. There'll be some militia dudes out there shooting people. I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see some sort of weird motorcycle gang show up at the White House. There's going to be stuff like that. So I wish Obama would be a little more loose-lipped, I guess. He has to be very cautious. He's obviously a very thoughtful, calculating person. No one gets to his position. Well, I guess Trump does, but, he wouldn't have had the career he had were he not intelligent. And he's certainly, though, he's in a bubble. He's in that former president bubble. You think Jimmy Carter goes to GameStop and argues about the price of Marble Madness like the rest of us do? Of course he doesn't. Neither does Obama with his big Netflix paychecks coming in every 2 weeks. So, yeah, that's right. So Obama then gets into what was he talking about? Youth, the young people. One of the politicians' favorite thing. They love to tell the children, the teens, the youngers, the 20-years, how great you guys are. I've never been more inspired than when I met young Sally from Topeka. I'm just making sense. But he goes on and on about the youth, and he had some nice flowery language for the youth. Hey, youths, come on, we love y'all. We were all youths once. You're on your own process, your own journey. These waves of generations flowing through time. But then it's just weird that the answer, then you follow that with, by the way, you're the future. This world's for you. You're the youth. Your energy is inspiring. What you up to? Vote for this old fucking dinosaur. Vote for the guy who's going to bring us back to the 70s. Trump wanted us to go to the 50s. Now we're going to just go right fast forward to the 70s. Fucking Biden. Not strictly by age. Bernie's older than Biden. But the youth loved him because they loved his policies, because they loved his honesty, his curmudgeonly character. And there might even be a little bit more of a performer to Bernie than we all realize. That's probably true. You can't have his career. He's been a politician since the 80s. Without it's just the nature of being a public, of giving speeches. But he seems to be pretty darn authentic with who he is. And I shook his hand at the Young Turks, man. He walked right with us. They were filming, and this is the 2016 campaign, and he came to the studio there. I wasn't working there. I was working for Jimmy Dore at the time, and we went there to film stuff, and I was standing there, and I made sure to stand where he'd walk by, and I got to touch his hand. I felt the burn. There's a photo of it somewhere, I think. I'm sure he remembers that. I bet he's talking about it on his podcast right now. I met Hank Thompson. It was the highlight of my life. I've never been in more love with his awkward tallness. He's not that tall. He's 6'3", which is it's a little under 6'3", which I'm losing my impression here very quickly for some reason. Bernie's he's like 6 foot 1 or something. He's taller than you think. He's a little hunchbacky over, I think people that spend their time just like looking at a laptop or like he's probably just always been kind of a lean forward. I don't get the sense that he's one of those like, all right, time to stand up and work on my chakras and do my fucking yoga stretches. I'm trying to do that lately because I can tell it's happening to me. My hunchback is getting worse, and I don't want to be the hunchback guy. I put on some weight, and I'm feeling out of sorts with my body type or my body lately. But I want to be hot yoga boyfriend. That's my goal. I want to be the hot yoga boyfriend after the pandemic. I just want to be flexible. I don't want any cramps during sex. And I want to be able to like put my leg up there and be like, all right, now my foot's near your head and your hand is somewhere and we're all fucking rawr. Anyway, so I've been stretching for like the last couple days. It feels good. I don't think Bernie does a lot of stretching. Bernie, do some stretching. Bernie and I should start a yoga school. I think that would be a lot of fun. And you're invited to pay for it. Where else do we go? Oh, Biden. Okay, day 4. I didn't see Buttigieg. It's just obnoxious that he got more time than AOC. It's just like, ugh. Oh, Kamala. I skipped her. Sorry. So I thought she was fine. I expected her to. I was hoping for a performance similar to when she interrogated Brett Kavanaugh. She's had a couple of good moments that play well, that also seem like well deserved. But it was awkward. I thought she started a little bit kind of stilted, but then she sort of seemed to settle in a little bit. But she was fine. Like into baseball terms, since this is a sports podcast, it was not a home run. It was like a decent single. I mean, she did her job. She didn't screw it up, and it was fine. And I don't know what else to say. I wish she had gone after Trump a little harder, but partially too, can appreciate the position she's in. It's this more of an introductory phase. A lot of people don't really pay attention to politics until the conventions and the debates in September. I don't even know if there's going to be any debates this year. There's definitely going to be a president or vice president one, I think. But which of the two dementia hags are gonna, Trump or Biden, are gonna be able to handle themselves in a debate? We'll see. Hopefully, I want to see one. Could be devastating for Biden. But so she's kind of introducing herself. So it would have been weird for her to come out too aggressive, I think, in a way. But I wanted her to be more aggressive. But she did okay. I have a lot of criticisms of her and her career, but there'll be plenty of time for that when she becomes president in 6 to 12 weeks. Meaning, when she becomes nominated. Okay, you get what I'm saying. I'm not sure Biden's going to last all that long. Although I might actually just fast little preview. He did okay. Okay, day 4. Buttigieg got more time than AOC. Buttigieg is I find him, my sociopathic radar goes off. My socio-dar. I don't like him. I don't trust him. I don't trust his career. I don't trust his motivations. I don't trust the facileness with which he lies and how impressed he is with his Obama impersonation. I do a good Obama impersonation. Okay, motherfucker. Look at me. I'm Barack Obama. Vote. Buttigieg reeks of neoliberal propagandizing. I can't stand him. My skin crawls. The only good thing about him is that he's gay. Is that he's like he's advancing representation. And I would say credit to America for not making that a big issue. Had he become a nominee, we would have seen a lot of homophobic grenades thrown from the right for sure. So in that sense, I'm grateful that representation is being advanced. That's fucking awesome. I don't give a shit if I have a gay president. The only way it would matter was because the right wing would show how, bigoted and cruel they are. So it would matter. But I do not give a fuck. Do whatever you gotta do. Everybody has sex with whoever they want. It's always awesome and disgusting all at the same time. Go for it. Whatever. Just don't hurt other people. So I can't stand Buttigieg though. That there's a term that's been risen up lately. The professional managerial class. He's just one of those types, and he's obviously a conniver and he's an outdated model that thinks he's updated, but it's basically just it's just like an app with a new logo. You're not any different there, fuck face. Biden did a big stretch about the veterans, how much he cares to help out the veterans who are injured, who he sent to be injured. Just felt that was a little strange. Biden loves the veterans. Look at him. Look at him shaking hands. Look at him talking to that guy that's got half a brain now. Yeah, Biden voted for it. Biden sent them to die and be maimed and have their psyches broken, to be traumatized. Okay, good. I mean, we should be better. We're nowhere near at all what we should be for veterans. Universal health care could help that. The Veterans Administration could be improved. But no, we're just going to keep sending these boys off, these young men and women off to war, to die, to get blown up, to defend our interests. My freedom depends on whether or not American corporations can extract resources and cheap labor from foreign countries. And we've got to keep China in check. Oh. So Biden is good for veterans. He'll send you to war, but then he'll also give you a fucking pinch on the cheek for a photo op at the hospital. Isn't he good? So that's gross. He'll never be able to wipe the blood off his hands. If you voted for Iraq, we need to hold these people to account. And the only accounting that we can have, because there's no actual legal accountability for those who killed all a million Iraqis, they get to go dancing with Ellen. They get to go watch sports with Ellen. I want to watch sports with Ellen. No, I don't. Oh, that sounds like a nightmare. I would with an Ellen standee, like a cutout, a fathead. By the way, fathead's not an insult to the product. Google it. Fathead sticker, if you're curious, for you young ones out there. A fathead needs to make a comeback. They're fun. They're fun. What the hell am I talking about? The only accountability that we might have is that we can continue to point out that these people killed people. That's it. But I want to be like, look, he's bloody. He's got blood on his hands. That's about the only accountability we can have, is to denigrate their character on a podcast. Wow. Really, really sticking it to them. This is the system working as it's designed. All right. So, okay. Biden's speech. Bloomberg spoke before Biden. I just want to finish with that, but I'll just go on about the Biden speech. There's not a ton with this. It was actually better than I think most people expected. This is a great example of low expectations working. Everybody sort of was just like, I just hope the mental lapses are not exploitable, or that they don't create news cycles that will last and be a weapon that the Trumps will use to attack him, because they definitely would. He did pretty good. I mean, I kept MSNBC running, afterwards in MSNBC, which is just like just embarrassing. The amount of propaganda that they're just spewing on that channel is disgusting. I don't think they're as bad as Fox News. I think they have a slight more fidelity to some sort of journalistic integrity, but the opinionizing that's on display from Rachel Maddow and the former Bush chief of, no, what was she, the former Bush press secretary, Nicole Wallace, Joanne Reed, Brian Williams. Man, it was knee pad time for Biden. But I mean, he beat the expectations. I don't think he stumbled once, and he did fine. And I thought some of the content of his speech was about appropriate for what you would hope for a speech of this kind. You know, this is the best speech I've ever seen. Give me a break. Shut the fuck up. There's been a lot of great speech. Like, he did fine. I mean, we all have low standards because of Biden setting the bar low and then Trump setting the bar extremely low. That fucking moron can barely read. So I was glad to see Biden hit Trump on the virus. I think he could have gone further, but he did make it pretty clear there wasn't enough. I think there should have been a lot more of that during this thing. There was some over the week, but they really needed to hammer at that and make it clear how bad this is and how much it didn't have to happen. It did not have to be like this. And yes, it's absolutely true that it's largely, well, greatly influenced by all of America's other things, and that might, but it's also very much because of Trump's response and Trump's chaos. But they don't want to get too far into the details on that, because all of a sudden you'll start looking at Pelosi's donor list and Biden's donor. Oh, those are health insurance. Oh, those are manufactured. Oh, there's a system of corporate influence here that is making a lot of money. Okay, let's not look too closely at that. Close the curtain. Close the curtain. Hurry before the regular people show up with the post-voting advocacy that Obama says they're supposed to do. He likes to lecture you about that afterwards, though. So a lot of this was about Beau Biden and Joe Biden. So we're all learning Joe's story. His wife and child were killed in a car accident before he met Jill Biden, and that's sad. Beau Biden was a soldier, and he was a lawyer, and he became attorney general. Kamala Harris says she and him were friends as attorney generals. Apparently it's like joining one of those late night teen chats, but for attorneys general. And he died of a brain thing. By thing, I mean cancer. And that sucks. Sucks to bury a kid, especially to bury. I think he actually lost two kids died in the first car accident. So he's experienced some personal heartache. Now, that doesn't qualify you to be in charge of the nuclear weapons or anything, but they really milk these stories. And a lot of the things people say that he's got this grief. Jon Stewart said this on Stephen Colbert about how America's grieving, America's in pain, and we need someone who knows grief. Actually, Cenk Uygur tweeted something about his grief. And, I don't want a fucking grief counselor for president. You can leave that to me. I'm the grief counselor of the world. No. I don't need to be my hand held and walked through an emotionally difficult, process of emotional healing and processing and reorienting your identity in terms of grief. I think grief is about forced change of your own identity, because if you lose somebody, you're no longer I think we define ourselves by our friendships and our loves and our people that we are connected to. So when someone dies, suddenly your identity is changed involuntarily. You didn't, especially a young person dying or a spouse or somebody. And it's a shock, and it's hard, and it's healthy to feel it, and it's healthy to not be afraid of it, and to let it work its way through you. And it's a process, and fine. But I don't think that's the fucking job of the president. America gives its president a crazy power over specific policies, over all these departments and the cabinet and everything, and as well as this kind of like emotional, spiritual figurehead, which is ridiculous. So I'm not looking for fucking Joe Biden, who has a lot of practice with grief, to be the guy that is going to pull us through this. I want some policies that are going to help people's lives and empower people to vote and get rid of the ways that people have their rights taken away by Republican oppression and gerrymandering and all the ways that they're stealing the vote and screwing everything up. And the corporations that pay the Democrats to make sure nothing changes. So our grief, in its way, is like an answer to pain, to something traumatizing. How about we prevent it? I don't want to answer pain. I want to prevent pain. Not in a naive, like, oh, you think you can eliminate all pain? Like, no, but I think we can eliminate a fuck ton of it. So much of it's not necessary. Isn't it bad enough that you know you're going to die? Isn't it bad enough that you have a crush on someone and then they break your heart? Or that you do that to someone else? Or that isn't it bad enough that you have to deal with just like social pain of like just group dynamics that can be pretty difficult, especially during formative years? It's not always easy. Like isn't it bad enough that you have to, that eventually you'll get hurt and deal with some physical pain, maybe even a disability? I think there's plenty of pain built into the most optimistic scenario, is my point. We don't need to generate misery so that we can see the light. I find that notion that people say, and I don't disagree with it, but that notion that people say, hey, well, you can't tell there's light without the dark. It's like, yeah, I know. But you don't need that much dark. There's plenty of light. Light, so simplistic. There's so much beauty and joy to be had in a lifetime, in a person's life, with meaningful experiences and connected events and feelings and whatever else with other folks. That's why I'm trying to be, I want to be a hot yoga boyfriend, okay? I will build my girlfriend a wooden mallet. I think I might become a mallet guy. No, I'm not lying. I got a bunch of, okay. So let's eliminate and let's work towards that goal of reducing the amount of, no one should have any stress about medical bills. No one should be shot by a gun. No one should be violently assaulted. And a lot of violence comes from our greatly inadequate approach to mental wellness. Not just illness, but mental wellness, to just stress that breaks people. So that fuckheads like Jeff Bezos, he bought, okay, I don't think I did this follow up on it, and maybe I'll make it a more formal, but in the previous podcast, I talked about the home he bought, which was $165 million. You know what else he bought? The home next door for $10 million. He just bought it. It's insane that we make sure that people's lives are filled with toil and difficulty and lack of agency and lack of autonomy. That's what that's why bosses bust unions, because they don't, not that it's about autonomy, but it's about them not wanting to cede any power. They don't want you to have a voice or to have any influence over your own life. You don't like it, quit. That's the only acceptable way to approach an injustice. Don't you dare form a union. How dare you? So I kind of lost track of my thought there. That woke up a lot of thoughts that I've got about a former employer of mine. But I don't want Biden's performative grief bullshit. I want someone that's going to work on preventing grief in other people. That's all I want. That way, like in the utopian society, as I'm going to repeat myself here, death, heartache, accidents, and there'll probably be some good amount of mental wellness stuff I was talking about. Within so many people, you're going to have some people with mental issues. That's just like any organ with genetic variability. It's inevitable. And then we work on developing healthy and safe approaches to that too. We are so doing it wrong. I think we're just in the middle of a great filter. Well, I mean, there's no Well, the end of it is nobody's around to talk about it. So, there'll be a lot of computer screens rotting in empty towers for the I just hope baboons escape and spread across North America. Just a montage of like cool buildings with like windows partially broken out, but baboons everywhere doing baboon shit at each other. All right, good stuff. Something about essential workers. They're going to pay essential workers. Oh, yeah, Biden said they're going to pay essential workers. They're not going to do that. They're not going to raise anybody's fucking pay. There might be a slightly more generous pandemic package or something like that, but the billionaires that own Biden aren't going to allow that. That's expensive. There, some numbers on a spreadsheet in their accountant's office will slightly change if they have to pay people money, and that goes against the national character. Why do you think we make children say the Pledge of Allegiance, you dumb old motherfucker? So they don't ask for more. They don't question anything. We want them to be reflexively offended when someone says something that it's weird to worship a symbol. How dare you? I was raised worshiping symbols. By the way, I think symbols are powerful. I'm not against like the statues and like monuments and stuff. Like what you're doing right now is symbol usage. Words, syllables, my tone even. These are all symbolic. It's just that you and I agree what it means because we speak the same language. Symbols are powerful. Symbolic understanding is a critical phase in how human beings became these intelligent creatures, far different than other animals. Not to say there aren't I know there's other animals that are intelligent and have feelings and stuff, whatever, but nothing's close to people. It's I think from some of the stuff I've seen and learned about it, it's because we were able to we created symbolic understanding. We can understand abstract concepts and we can communicate them and then teach. And so over time, we are able to benefit from the knowledge from the past as well as add our own knowledge to it. And it's amazing and it's powerful. You can cry reading a book because you're just looking at symbols. I mean, symbols are important, but flags are gross. I think flags drive a lot of this nationalism, disgustingness. I almost said ickiness. What am I, in therapy? But anyway, his speech was fine. He did well. It was better than I think most people expected. Had there been like a tiny mistake, it would have been picked up on and magnified, possibly even by someone like me, which is probably somewhat counterproductive if I just wanted to win. Not that I have any influence. But the right wing certainly would have grabbed onto it. But as usual, though, it's just like the policy's not going to match what they say in the speech. It's not. Obama, this is just, I have very strong 2008 vibes again. That we think we think we might have the answer to the conservative nightmare. Obama was very much, if the Bush administration wasn't such a fucking horrible regime, it was terrible. It was horrible. There's no way Obama would have become president after that. Had Gore been in, it would have still been probably a shit show, but he wouldn't have gone to Iraq. He might have even prevented 9/11. I mean, who knows? Like, I'm not saying that because I think Gore is some magical person, but Bush Bush was forewarned about it, and he did nothing. And Gore may have done something. I mean, who knows? Who knows? But I think it would have been a better world. There probably would have been much better environmental policies. Not far enough, probably. But that was Al Gore's pommel horse. He hit that all the time. You're supposed to say hobby horse or pommel horse? I like pommel horse. That's like gymnastics. They like fucking hold those handles and swing their legs around. Amazing. Amazing. You know what? Fuck yoga. I'm going to be gymnastics boyfriend. You looking for that, lady? Gymnastics boyfriend. And now the triple sow cow. Well, I think that's figure skating. I don't know. So it's marketing. This is propaganda. These things. That's what these are. And talking about this much and what I'm doing, I mean, I don't know, I'm just doing a stupid podcast, but like this is kind of participating in it. This is the horse race bullshit. We're in peak horse race season here. It's getting into late August. The election's in November. We got like 2 months to go. So it's going to be a lot of election talk, as there should be. It's an important event. But it's frustrating how many people fall for it, how much people really seem to like, they take these personal things. It just, on a broader scale, just how propaganda and marketing works so well. Oh my God, we're over 2 hours. Fuck. I was like, all right, I'll be do the podcast real quick. I'm gonna start early. I was up before 7. I was working on it, and I was like, I'll be done by like 10, and I'll be out woodworking. And I'm like, it's not even noon. I haven't even done the Mike Bloomberg with the fly on his face. We're gonna hold off on that. Okay, no, we'll skip to the. Oh fuck. Okay, we'll rush to it real quick. So the DNC was what it was. It's exactly what you'd expect. It's a bunch of propagandists trying to trick people who their consultants think will vote for them or will or not. And overall, it could have been a lot worse than it was. The online format, the Zoom call format, actually I thought worked better than I expected it to, and we'll probably see more of it in future years, even when they're able to do stuff in big groups. So, all right, Mike Bloomberg, he opens with a joke.
Good evening. I've never been much for partisan politics. I've supported Democrats, Republicans, and independents.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Hell, I've actually been a Democrat, Republican, and independent.
Yes! I need a sip of coffee. Oh, that was good. It's actually been all the three types of people. Actually, I'm a shape-shifting vampire. Who will knows? Okay, that's his opening joke. All right, so let's look at some flies. I'm going to jump ahead here. Oh, yeah, first of all, in the video, I know there's a bit of a visual gag here, but they cut to those camera shots that aren't the one that they're making eye contact with. This happens all the time. And it's usually just next to the camera or maybe like 4 feet to the left a little bit or something. This one, it's just a straight up, like full-on profile of his right side. It's just such an awkward shot. I'm just going to play it a tiny bit.
Before this very convention and said, New Yorkers know a con when we see one.
This why they voted for me to be the con man in charge. I was the mayor. This guy, this is like right before Biden. This is a real signal of what the Democratic Party's priorities are, where they think that their future lies, in billionaires and oligarchs. This former Republican with a history of highly inappropriate, that's being generous, sex, I don't know, offenses implies he was arrested, but he's done a bunch of shitty stuff to women who worked for him. There's NDAs out there that prevent them from speaking about it. I'm still thinking about that joke. That's so good, man. and an independent. He's been one of them. Woo! I needed a laugh. You know, laughter is the only medicine. That's a joke from one of my previous. What's this one here?
Would you rehire?
Would you? Oh, okay. This I made some notes. Sorry, forgive me here. All right. Oh yeah. Okay. This is I think I'm at the right spot. Otherwise, I'll rewind it. But not enough people need to make this point. I think there's a pretty simplistic way of phrasing it to try to get regular folk to understand how Trump is bad. Let me just play this. I think I'm at the right spot.
So I want to ask small business owners and their employees one question, and it's a question for everyone. Would you rehire or work for someone who ran your business into the ground?
Like Trump. He goes on. Let's just let him go.
And who always does what's best for him or her, even when it hurts the company? And whose reckless decisions put you in danger? And who spends more time tweeting than working?
Stop tweeting and start working. Now, he's being weak and feckless, and for somehow that works. But, like, would you hire this guy? Would you fucking want to work? Everybody's had to work with some dickhead, with somebody who's a little goofy and doesn't seem... Like, Trump is that times 1,000. No one would want to work with Trump. Would you trust him to, like, run something in your company, to work with this guy? I think it's a pretty simplistic, straightforward point that could be used a lot more. You know, I don't know. Okay. All right. So I think now here we're at the flies. I think this is let me turn the volume down. I don't want to blow it up here. Yeah. Okay. Looking on screen, I got the volume off. So if you look at the lower left, there's a fly. Yes. Okay, good. I love it. I love a fly. I live above a dumpster. My apartment building has the dumpster in the back of the building where I am. And the dumpster is like basically right below my balcony. So when I do woodworking on my balcony, which I'm loving the project, but one thing I do not like is I get flies visiting. And I'm also in and out of my door all the time, right? So I get flies in my apartment. And I had a very traumatizing experience, which I am not yet ready to talk about because also it would be kind of rude to bring it up. But anyway, I'm enjoying seeing these flies because they're menacing Bloomberg, and he deserves it. Here's another fly moment. There it is. You see it? A little bit on the right, kind of the center, just a little slightly right of center. Yes. Oh, it's buzzing around. Ooh, 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 ooh. Crossed through his face. So it's when it's in front of his dark jacket, it's harder to see. Now here, pay close attention. Keep your eyes on his right eyebrow. Now that's the left side of the screen. It's his facing you, his right arm. You know, I'm good at this because I do animation with puppets. You have to decide one side has. Okay, why am I? Okay, here we go. Boom! Yes, dive bomb. Get him. Now he doesn't respond. Listen, eyebrows. I think they're there to like redirect sweat around your eyes to kind of just be sort of like a liquid to sort of just, you know, like they're the orange cones of the eye and the forehead and gravity pulling sweat down. And they're partially about visuals and, you know, the way we squint and whatever else and expressing our facial expressions. But they're sensitive. Hairs are sensitive. They're like little detectors. That's why cats have hairs on their faces. They're called whiskers. They're sensitive to shit. And it lands right on him. He doesn't even phase. I would go, I'd slap it real hard. I'd pop my eyeball out. Boom. All right, frame by frame. Here. He does close his eye. He kind of blinks, but he just pushes. I give him credit for that. That's not easy to do. It is in there. It is. It's locked on his eye. All right, here's one more coming up real soon here. This is just flying around. Yes, there it is flying. What a boring. Here's one more landing on him, and then we're going to do a couple more substantive things. I know you guys aren't here for just this fucking fly talk. I know you want to hear the in-depth analysis and quality self-aggrandizing. Here we go. Slowly. Boom! Right on his lip. Right on his fucking cleft, right in the middle. They call that the cleft? I don't know. The little dip in the middle. It's not centered. It's a little a little off on his left. Slightly too. But, dude, the mustache part of the body is also a sensitive notion. What the hell word was I going for? Anyway. Yeah, here we go. Here it comes again. You know, flies are attracted to shit, so they're coming for what's coming out of his mouth. But yeah, little landing, just like being just a giant little spaceship landing on a giant creature. Wow, I wish it went into his mouth. Okay, this one was fun. I just wanted to play this. I'm probably gonna make this into a drop. I haven't been doing drops in the last several months, but I'm always collecting. Huh? Oligarch says what? I mean, sorry, I fucked that up. Oligarch says, huh? One more time. Huh? Oh, I fucked it up. Hold on. I'm trying. Oligarch says, huh? Oligarch. Huh? Yeah, God damn it. Hank, I get it. This is terrible podcasting. Huh? Okay, you get the idea. What a dummy. Okay. Big. Oh, another fly shot, but I don't think it lands on him in that one. It'd be funny if it crawled into his ear. And like Jeff Goldblum comes out. Here's another drop that I want to make. I think this would be a good one. What a joke. Hey, Jeff, did you like my humor? What a joke. I agree, buddy. All right, so this is another thing he says here that is bullshit. Everything about this fucking asshole's bullshit, but let's go with this one.
Donald Trump's economic plan was to give a huge tax cut to guys like me who didn't need it.
But was glad to take it and would do everything in the world to stop anybody from rolling it back, just like how I pledged to take down Bernie Sanders during the Democratic primary.
And then lie about it to everyone else. Well, Joe will roll back that tax cut that I got so we can...
Oh, what a sacrifice, you fucking scumbag.
...fund things our whole country needs. Like training for adults who have lost jobs and make
job training. Like job training. That's all you need. Learn to code, fuckface. This guy needs to learn how to coal mine, okay?
Making college more affordable and investing in American research and development.
Right. Okay. So they're not going to roll back those tax cuts. If they do, it'll be a tiny pittance of the overall amount. It's like something like 1 point something trillion, trillions and trillions of dollars to people who've been getting big tax cuts for the last 20 years and who's had the rate lowered. Capital, that is to say money sitting there, is taxed at extremely low rates. Mitt Romney, this rich asshole, he's only worth $200 or $300 million. And during his campaign in 2012, he was rightfully questioned and pilloried about that he pays such a low tax rate, like 16, 17%. I pay a high. When I was driving for Postmates, making 20-something grand a year, I was paying more than that in taxes as a percentage.
So that the products of tomorrow are made today by American workers.
Oh, yeah. American workers. They're not going to roll back those tax cuts. There ain't no fucking chance. That's exactly why the stocks went up when Biden won and why Kamala was picked. These people are not doing that. Bullshit. During campaigns and during elections, especially right up to it, everybody runs on progressive and populism. Progressive versions, promises to look out for your workers. You're going to get a raise. You're going to have more power. We're going to clean this up. But then they don't. They don't legislate like that. That's why this whole storytelling propaganda effort is where the real politics happens, even though the policies never reflect it. It's all bullshit. Finally, at the very end, he just this is how he squares it up, showing his true character. I mean, really, how do you not be just compelled by a personality like this?
Joe and Kamala, go get them for all of us.
Whoa. Sorry for folks listening at home. That was pretty intense.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel.
Okay, shut up, Lester Holt. I don't need that shit. So, yeah, he gives this weird, awkward, thrusty punch. Fuck this guy. All right, so good. That's the Bloomberg stuff. We're done. That's it. All right, good, guys. I got to go shape my dad's handle, okay? The mallet's cool. If you want to see pictures, I haven't been Instagram posting much. I'm really struggling, not specifically with Instagram, but just, you see those company or like those people that do cool stuff and they have like this steady output and they seem to always sort of be doing stuff correctly and on time. I don't know how they do that. I wish I could. I think I need help, but I also I could probably just be a little more deliberate. I don't know. It's just I'm spinning a lot of plates. I think too is part of it, but it's fun. And the first woodworking video is out. Please look in the description if you want to check it out. I really would like you to see it. It's entertaining. You get to see a little bit of my balcony in my apartment too. I don't know if that's exciting. You can go on Zillow and look at shitty apartments as much as you want. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Go to Democrats. Put on some sunglasses like Pelosi, like we all should, so that we can really stick it to them. Maybe tear up a piece of paper. That would be, a sarcastic clap. We're going to sarcastic clap our way out of this problem. When those floodwaters are like going up your calf muscle and you can feel the coldness of the water and a squid and a jellyfish having sex slides right into your groin, just clap. Just a sarcastic clap and you'll be okay. It'll all go away. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe. Click on those buttons. Oh, and I'm posting up little clips too on my YouTube channel now. I'm not doing a ton. It's something I've been sort of dreading, but I'm trying to make it fun and dumb and just one or two out of every podcast episode, or if it's something that I think is worthy of independently stand, because that might help attract some new listeners as well as make things. Most people don't want to click on a 2.5 hour video where there's nobody to look at. That was just some fucking whack job rambling about his barely articulate politics. Cool. You've been wonderful. I hope you're staying safe. Wash your hands when you get in the door. Don't touch your shit, okay? Set your groceries down. Wash your damn hands. Put your groceries away. Wash your damn hands. Keep this coronavirus thing out of your mouth and your body. And someday we'll be past it, hopefully. and we can all be hot yoga boyfriends and girlfriends and whatever else it is, okay? We're all going to get together and have a huge, disgusting orgy of handshaking. Remember all the handshake? Handshaking. Remember that? Hi, nice to meet you. Do you have viruses? I have viruses. Let's touch. Does your immune system, it's fucking crazy. I'm not touching another human being with whom I don't know forever. Donald Trump ruined handshaking. He's such a piece of shit, he ruined coughing. Now, in 10 years, when you cough in public, you're going to make people scared. Good one, Trump. Wow. Wow. Okay, I'm trying to end the show. Goodbye. Thanks for clicking play, and I'll miss you until next time. You're doing great. No matter what, you're doing good. You're doing fine. Keep it up. You're doing good. Bye-bye.